Hello, my name is Salvador Gonzalez, and I'm running for U.S. Senate to represent the great state of Florida. Today, I want to talk to you about nuclear defense. Um, it's fitting that we talk about it today. Today is March 23rd, 2023. It was exactly 40 years ago today that Ronald Reagan introduced what was known as the SDIO, that is the Strategic Defense Initiative Organization, um, which would later be known as Star Wars. Um, now, The reason why Reagan proposed the SDIO was because he felt that MAD, Mutual Assured Destruction, was basically a suicide pact between the United States and the Soviet Union if there was ever a nuclear war. Um, Ronald Reagan did not want the United States to partake in that suicide pact. He wanted to make sure that the United States had a defense. And so that initiative was introduced by him and his administration exactly on this day 40 years ago. So it's fitting that we talk about it now because I think it's a lot more relevant today than it was back then. Because back then we really only had the Soviet Union to contend with. Now we have Russia to contend with, and we also have North Korea to contend with. Um, the Chinese did have nuclear weapons back then, but they weren't really a threat. So if anything, a lot of strategic or a lot of generals, if you will, they felt that China would fight with the United States in any war against the Soviet Union. Um, but we're moving away from the real purpose of this conversation. And the real purposes of this conversation is to begin um, the dialogue of reinitiating that program to make sure that we, the United States of America, can defend against a nuclear attack. Now, of course, I'm going to get a lot of critics. A lot of people are going to say, a lot of critics are going to say, well, the status quo has kept the world from going into a nuclear war. The MAD has worked. Yes, luckily it has worked. But that doesn't mean that it's going to work in the future. Um, it doesn't mean that any country that feels they can win a nuclear war is not going to try. And how can a country win a nuclear war? The Chinese and the Soviets are developing, and we are too. The United States is too. We're developing supersonic missiles. Supersonic missile, depending on where they're launched from, can hit almost any part of the United States within 5 minutes. That basically takes away um, our reaction time. Our reaction time from when an ICBM is launched from Russia to the United States, it's about 30, 40 minutes max. But a hypersonic missile launched to the United States can arrive or can deliver its payload in nuclear or hydrogen explosion in about 5 minutes. Um, and Russia, both Russia and China are developing those weapons. Um, what is scarier to me is that they're also developing other weapons that will enable them to destroy any missiles that are incoming from our side. And I feel that once they develop those systems, they will be able to dictate terms of trade, commerce, and foreign policy, or anything else that they choose. I don't see us doing any of that. If anything, we're behind the eight ball. on that. I recently read an article, and you can find a link to the article here, where the United States is behind on critical technologies, behind the Chinese by double digits. So they're moving ahead. The Chinese are moving ahead, and they're developing the weapons that are really eventually are going to render our nuclear deterrence obsolete, because we will come to the realization that any nuclear missile we launch at them will be intercepted, and any nuclear missile launched at us will not be intercepted. So then, where would we be left off? We would have no choice but to cower to whatever they want. Let's take an example. For example, let's say that Russia had that capability. What would stop them from invading Ukraine? What would stop them from invading Poland? Nothing. They would be able to do as they wish. Right now, yes, they've invaded Ukraine, and we're stopping them. But if they had the capability of taking out our nuclear missiles, then I can assure you they would have already used tactical nuclear weapons on Ukraine. And we in NATO would not be helping the Ukrainians as much as we are. So they would have taken over Ukraine if they had the capability to destroy any and all incoming ICBMs or nuclear tip missiles into Russia. They would own the sky, or whatever you will. They would own the initiative. They would have everything that they need. Luckily, they don't have that. But the Chinese may be able to have that in as little as 10, 20 years. Um, and that's why I'm running. I'm running because I don't see any of our politicians, any of our elected leaders, even talking about this. It's not even on their radar. And I'm sitting here thinking, guys, what are we doing? This is important. This is critical to our survival. If we can't get this in 20 to 30 years, we will lose our dominance. We will not be able to dictate the, the terms of anything. The Chinese will be able to say and do and go wherever they please. It'll be like, for example, the way I look at it, it would be like the only guy in the room with a gun, and it's a hostage situation. We will have to do whatever it is that they want. I want to change that. I want to make sure that we talk about this. If I am elected, that would be my primary objective, to make sure that we discuss this problem. We have to discuss this problem. It's we have no other choice. Ask yourself, why why do the North Koreans spend huge amount of resources on nuclear weapons? The reason why they do that is because that is their deterrence. Okay, anything less for them would not work, because they know that nuclear weapons are what keep South Korea and the United States from invading, at least from their perspective. We, I don't think we have any interest in invading North Korea. Um, that in itself would just be a whole nother problem. But from their perspective, they think that we're about ready to invade, right? So they spend an enormous amount of resources on their nuclear program. We must spend a significant amount of resources on developing the technology to defend against a nuclear attack. And the reason for that is because the Chinese will do it first. And if they do it first, they will be able to dictate the terms of commerce, trade, and foreign policy. I am running to make sure that that does not happen. I need your help. We need to make sure we start sending people to Washington who will solve this problem. We need nuclear defense. Now, a lot of people will say, well, it's going to be billions and billions of dollars. Yes, yes, maybe even trillions of dollars. Because I'm sure that being able to defend against a nuclear attack is not going to be cheap. But the consequences of not being able to defend against a nuclear attack are catastrophic. We're talking about within the first hour, even in a minor attack. Let's say, for example, we exchange five, six, seven, 800 nuclear warheads. We're talking about 100 million people dying within the first hour, and 50 million more as the weeks progress after the attack. That is unacceptable. We must develop a nuclear defense system. We must develop a nuclear defense system. That is why I'm running. That is what I will do, and that's what it is I will work on to make sure that we have that defense system, or that at least we begin working on it. Right now, I don't think we're working on that. Some people say, well, the government, they know more than you do. Yeah, of course they do, right? Um, they're working on it. We just don't know about it. Well, I don't know. I don't think so. And here's why I don't think so. Donald Trump, Biden, Pence, right? They leave these classified documents laying around like it was candy. I think that whatever is in those documents, if the nuclear defense initiative was part of it, it would have leaked out. We would know about it. So yeah, no, I don't think that the government is working on it, and we must start working on it. So please subscribe, um, pass this video on. This will not be the first time that I'm going to talk about this. There's going to be a lot more conversation on this that I will have. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't know everything. I don't even know how we would go about creating such a system. But I do know that it needs to get done. We did not have the technology in 1983 to do it. That was 40 years ago. I think that we need to revisit this. I think that we really need to take a look at this and think, all right, how do we accomplish this? How do we provide a defense system against a nuclear attack? It's important. It's absolutely vital, because if the Chinese get there first, we will lose our dominance in the world stage. Like I said earlier, it would be like a hostage situation where one guy has the gun and we will have to do whatever they want. So subscribe, join my Facebook page. The links are below, and help me. Help. We need to get this done. Thank you.